Hello.
Hello, Rami. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Are you hearing a bunch of noise in the background?
I
No?
don't think so.
Okay, good. Damn, that's really good. It's really loud for me.
I think sometimes these microphones are really good at noise cancellation.
Yeah. Yeah, mine is only like $200. I forget who makes it. And it took me like 2 seconds to make the decision because I had my daughter make the decision.
It might appear sometimes in the background. I mean, I have recorded before certain things, and it did appear. But I think even really a good computer is capable of doing the cancellation. It doesn't really have to be.
Yeah, if you have a good like I have a NVIDIA video card and it's got really advanced software that controls the camera, and it actually lets this kind of thing happening. Okay, that's the NVIDIA software.
Mhm.
My camera's not actually moving; it's just digital, and built into that is the audio thing, even though it's a video card. And what was my point? I think I had a point. It's gone now.
Yeah, I'm not using anything fancy. I'm just using my regular MacBook, but those recent MacBooks have also very good.
Oh, so here's what I wanted to say. I based on watching my own videos, I think my audio setup's still not as good as a lot of the stuff I've seen. And what I see from the people that clearly their audio is better is that big ass arm with the microphone right in front of their face, like a serious podcast. I think those are more like $500, $600, $700.
Not
And what I have is
necessarily.
$200.
Not necessarily. I mean, I
In
have
the future.
I have a Yeti mic. It's
That's what I
probably
have.
it's 100 plus something. I forgot how much I got it for, but it's not the mic only. It's the setup of the room. So because of the fact that you're sitting so close to the wall, that might actually reduce a little bit of the noise, but still you have a big room.
More than that, my TV is giving sound because I'm not using my microphone. My TV is giving sound to this Yeti. It has to cancel it out. And while doing that, it's fucking other shit up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If I had a microphone that would give less noise to the Yeti, then I think it would do better.
I think also the room setup has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, we're talking about nonsense. So let's see.
Well, it's not nonsense. It's actually something that does also have a very
Yeah. We
important,
do because we have to have our thing straight. By the way, back on the same topic, I think there may be a conflict between my Yeti's attempt to edit the audio and video, or the audio, but then also if I have the NVIDIA software also doing its job, I think it might be conflicting. I don't really know. I don't know enough about this stuff.
I don't know either. I mean,
I wish somebody would just tell me. Like
No,
all those people who believe in God, that's what they're wanting. They believe in God because they want somebody to just tell them what the truth is, so they don't have to think, right?
I mean, we all like something of that sort, and to some extent, even if you look at this for scientists, I work in a specific field. If I want to get some other knowledge from another field, even a very close field, something that's still in physics, but something that's
You
very
won't
different.
do it by yourself. You go get that guy and talk to him, right?
Exactly, and I'm going to rely on basically their expertise. I'm not going to be fully relying on that, but to a great extent, I'm not going to go into the details, into
Same
the
as doctors.
Yeah, exactly. So
I got a buddy who's a brain doctor, and very often he has to call the heart doctor because it affects the brain in some cases.
yeah, so I think if you look at it from the point of view of specialization that started human civilization from the beginning, you have to rely on others in order to live in some form of community, and that outsourcing of what you need to do to others is actually just part of what
And
we do.
that's why if you're trying to save the world, you can't fucking do it by yourself.
Exactly.
You got to join in with partner with other people. This morning I had a meeting with Leia and Shalom I don't know if you know Shalom. Shalom is somebody I did a podcast with, first on his podcast, and then I had him on my podcast. And then later, after talking to Leia, I found out she had already talked to him, and she wanted him involved to help us. We had that meeting this morning. I think we're going to have more meetings. It was very, very fruitful this morning. He's really helping me and Leia chisel our we have a lot of ideas, but you obviously can't do it all at once. You got to select what you're going to start with, push everything else off. He's helping us do that.
So what does he do basically?
He does a lot of things, but the way I met him was he has a podcast. If you go to his website, you'll see he's a marketing guy. Okay, he sells marketing services. He's also a hypnotist, and that word is weird, but he's helping people with their emotional problems with things that he calls hypnotism, but it's psychology. And he didn't get a psychology field; it's other stuff. Anyway, because he described it to me, and to me that just sounds like psychology stuff. But again, it's not from the traditional field that is known as psychology.
I mean, hypnotism is a very legitimate method that some practice.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was hocus pocus.
No. I mean, there is definitely a certain level of I wouldn't call it trickery, but you have to have a buy-in in the first place.
That's true for everything.
True, that's true. But for example, one of the things that Daniel Dennett talks about in connection with the development of religion in the first place is that in order to understand why it is that most humans have this tendency to be religious, it probably has to go back to our prehistory, in which case the shamans were relying very heavily on a kind of a hypnotism to actually aid in the self-healing process. And so if you didn't have this ability to go under, to be suggestible, then you're probably screwed, because you don't have that health insurance that the others around you have. And so we have a kind of a selection process that selects for the people who are suggestible. And so we ended up with a kind of a culture that selected for that
suggestibility.
Yeah, suggestibility, which is basically that vulnerability to.
But also, I gotta add, the memes that have evolved since the time you're talking about, a lot of them are designed to make you suggestible.
Oh yeah, that's another layer.
Wow.
That's a layer on top of the original,
and it's like 30 layers.
Right. So that stuff, when it comes to, again, what Daniel Dennett was talking about, that's called mimetic engineering. And so you basically go beyond that initial process of domesticating these wild religions that take the form of.
So let me just say an example idea that is under the category of attempting to make you suggestible. Okay, one little idea everyone hears all the time, Muslim wise. God knows better than us. That sentence, if you adopt it, makes you suggestible to everything.
Yeah.
It's very universal.
Well, there is actually, I'm not sure where this quote comes from. There's definitely a modern day Muslim scholar who mentioned it. I say scholar, that's probably a bad word. But just a sheikh. So it might also be coming from a more ancient quote, but basically it tells you that when you enter the mosque, you leave your brain outside along with your shoes. Basically, because you are just giving up any kind of the ability to reason.
At least it didn't say destroy your brain. It says keep it, use it when you go outside, but when you're in here. I don't know.
In fact, actually, if you I'm not sure actually if this is really the etymology of the word mind in Arabic, but the word mind also shares uh, 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 the same root as reins, as in the reins that you have to control an animal. And so the way that uh,
Interesting.
they usually talk about it is that when you are considering the brain, the mind, I'm sorry, the mind, you're actually considering a kind of a rein that is supposed to be controlling you in some way. So there is a
Oh,
kind of
that reminds me of something else. The word spelling, which means putting letters together to make a word. Supposedly, I don't know if this is accurate, but that's the story on the internet, came from the word spell, meaning magic spell.
okay.
And it kind of makes sense. If there's people who don't speak and then they see two people speaking to each other, they can figure out, oh shit, that dude put an idea in the other dude's head. How did they do that? With spelling.
Well, it also makes sense if you just look at the proverbial way that a magical spell is supposed to be done. You have an utterance of certain magical words, and before literacy was prevalent, you might actually mistake letters for syllables or for actual words. And so when you say spelling, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're breaking the word into its constituent letters, but you could be breaking the idea into its constituent sounds.
That's interesting. You opened my mind a little bit more on that. Okay, let's try to do some work. I went ahead and went away from StreamYard for the live stream thing we got going on. I decided to go YouTube. Part of it is to say, if you add a third party, you're probably going to have more problems. And also just to say, I saw some good live streams that use the YouTube platform, so I'm fine with it. And here's an example, and it's who are they? EXMA.
No, it looks like you're watching Atheist Republic. I noticed there is
Okay, Atheist Republic. Sorry, yeah, and so they use the YouTube platform. I figure that's just what we'll do. And then while I was watching their show, I noticed that they tried to get donations a certain way. I want to show you.
Yeah.
The dark world of Pakistan's.
So right here, donate now. And it's built into YouTube. And it shows that they've raised $3,800. And it's saying, there's a sentence here saying why you should donate. And I don't remember where it says it, but I copied it here. They wrote, please help us produce more content.
Yeah, but let me say something about that particular stream. So the Atheist Republic is a very well-established old institution, and so they have a well-lubricated machine for fundraising, for marketing, for all
that, and they have a lot of people watching that particular live stream.
Right. Yeah. So it's I looking at the number, I wouldn't say necessarily, oh, look, they raised whatever sum that this seems to be doable with that level of streaming. No.
I see. I think I know what you mean. That $3,800 might be money raised in all of their forms, not just this one form.
Possibly. I mean, they
anyway, it's just an idea of we need to eventually come up with ways of how we're going to get money. This was just an idea to
right. No,
absolutely. So we can start thinking about it.
Absolutely, and I've seen some people put in their YouTube description things that it would enable you to say just a thanks. A thanks can actually have a special way of then appearing in the comments. So people who give you that thank, you can put several tiers, and then you can have people donating in that particular way. And you can just throw in just several links, whether to GoFundMe and
I mean,
Patreon.
all of this is meaningless right now. We have to have audience of like 10,000 before requesting donations even make sense. When you have 500, it's nothing.
And I think that might also depend on. So I think YouTube starts monetizing at
I have 2 levels I have to reach first, 2 milestones.
1,000.
That's different than this donating thing.
I'm not sure if they're not related, but
I think it's separate. But yeah, I know what you mean. There's 2 milestones I got to hit in order to get monetized. There's just 2 different levels, and I'm not even close to either of them.
Yeah, no. But I'm wondering if these are in some way related.
I don't know. I don't think it is, but maybe it is.
I never looked into it, so I don't know. I'm just wondering.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with Leia, because I think it's connected and intermingles with the project you and I are doing. And I want to be clear, even me and Leia have not figured out what we're going to do yet. So it's not like any of this with her is established yet. Like, you know, we're trying to do this Agents of Change program. I don't even know what to call it yet. We don't even know what it's going to consist of yet. But initially, it's imagined as like a podcast series. I more imagined it as a live stream series, which in some ways is more complicated, but in other ways less complicated because you don't have to edit with a live stream. More complicated though because you're stuck to a particular time. Anyway, but then as she started talking to her people, her audience, and started asking them what they want from a program like this, one of the things they said was, you need to be a community because the people you're attracting lost their communities. And to me, community means friendship, but also I think it should have stuff like self-promotion. So if somebody's trying to find another business partner, or let's say somebody's trying to get donations for their school or whatever, that's a community type thing. I think all of that should be in it. And the way I envision something like that is based on stuff I've already seen and what I already figured out I want to do. Apostate Aladdin, remember him? Apostate Aladdin?
Yeah. We're actually interacting indirectly in some other way.
You and him?
He's probably going to be participating in that ex-Muslim awareness month that I mentioned before, so that he's going to be part of that activity.
Okay. Anyway, so he has a Discord, and I'm in there. I mean, I don't really use it. I just wanted to get in and see what it's like. And I was studying it because I know I have to make one. But I also don't want to compete with his if it's good. I just would rather join his. His group is for ex-Muslims. I think some Muslims are allowed there, something like that. I'm not really sure. But it's basically ex-Muslims. So I don't want to make a community for ex-Muslims because that's already a good one. And then connecting this with Leia, maybe I make a community for Xers, which means including ex-Muslims, but everyone else too. And still sticking with the Discord concept. And I built one, and I've been spending last week on it. And anyway, so now some questions and things to think about. First of all, I don't think Leia wants to be involved in such a thing right now. She's trying to, and this makes sense, she's trying to do something small first, get it working, and then add to it, go bigger, get it working, and so on. And Discord community is not going to be step one. So probably step one for her is going to be like, she's going to start an email list. That's the advice we got from Shalom. Either that or a Substack. Anyway, but I want to start the Discord now because it's not just the thing with Leia. And because I've already wanted this. People have asked me to make one.
For Xers in general or ex-Muslims or?
it doesn't matter. First of all, he came to me because of my philosophy. He envisioned it as ex-Muslims only and no Muslims. And the reason I know that is because he was coming to me saying, let's start, would you start this Discord? First of all, I said, well, there's already ones out there. I don't want to start one if there's already a good one. Why would I want to, what is the thing that's going to be different about mine? So he told me. He said all the other ones have this thing where it all, the way he described it was, there's just a bunch of political infighting in all of them. And based on what he saw from me and my philosophy, he thinks mine wouldn't have that. So then I shot back to him an idea. I was like, hey, what about Muslims? Is it okay for Muslims to be in there, in the way you envision it? And the reason I ask is uniting the cults and the whole big flag of let's get rid of apostasy laws. I want Muslims in that. But he never replied to me. He didn't even say, no, I disagree. He just didn't, he ghosted me. So whatever, that died. I wasn't going to just start one. But I know people want me to start one. So I want to start one now. So here's my question to you. And I'm also going to ask Leia this. First of all, I don't want to start this without sort of like her recognizing it as a potential thing that connects with her and the AOC project, Agents of Change. But again, not necessarily now. Say we started this community now and deconstructing Islam benefits from it, and then later Agents of Change benefits from it. In that little Discord community, we're doing things like advertising deconstructing Islam and Agents of Change. But we're also just talking about everything, which is just on its own going to get people to think and talk and to eventually hear about deconstructing Islam live stream and Agents of Change.
Well, you mentioned several things. Let me start first by asking about what you started with at the beginning, the difference between a podcast and a live stream. The live stream, when I look at a live stream, I notice that people tend to ramble a lot, and the extension of time that usually is occupied by a live stream, I've seen live streams that can go for 4, 5,
10.
Yeah. Sometimes something.
The original live streamers, if I understand correctly, is gamers.
Yeah.
On Twitch, and they do 10 hours. Yeah, I want 1 hour.
And so if you're comparing this to a podcast, it means that you're going to be requiring people to really watch the live stream intently, maybe looking for whatever nuggets, plus also the entertainment factor that you have something that's going to be lasting for more than 1 hour typically. I don't know if you're going to be restricting it really to 1 hour. It's I don't know. I'm not really that enthusiastic about live streams, except for something like Q&A, things of that sort. But as a kind of a format, I'm not really sure if this is something
Well, it's the thing that we're doing, deconstructing Islam.
Yeah, so sure, but the thing about that is that we are planning a great deal for this. We are trying to make sure that there is kind of an itemized thing that's going to go through this.
We're not going to shoot from the hip.
Yeah, so I think it's in my mind it's closer to the podcast format than just a pure.
Oh, sure, that's fine. I think I know what you're saying, but I want a live stream, but prepared like a podcast. And the point of the live stream aspect of it is people get to engage. In a podcast, you're barely engaging. That's all. It's to create the engagement, and then that's the point of the Discord too, even more.
Yeah, I do actually follow a few people who do their whole thing as live stream and then gets posted as a standalone video. It's mainly in Arabic, and usually what happens is that the person is not really paying attention to what's happening in the chat, for example. That's happening on the side. They have their own people who follow the chat and moderate it and make sure that if there's something that's outstanding,
Yeah.
it gets
And initially, since we're two people, one person, maybe it's me, maybe it's you, can pay attention to the chat. And then a little bit later, we're gonna have people who want to do this for us.
Yeah, so that's something, but what I'm saying is that very often, if there is a kind of a stream that's moving in a given direction, it's not always easy to divert it, especially if you have just one or two people and one of them is going to be paying attention to the chat. It's going to be a little bit of an overkill with multitasking.
Oh, I did notice that with me and Jessica and I did a live stream. Both of us were very brand new to it. I had like a little bit more experience than her. I did one June 14th, you know. And yeah, there was, from her side, there was too much of, when she would notice the chat, it would stop her thinking. But for me, it wouldn't. I wouldn't even look at it when I'm talking. I would only look at it when she was talking. But anyway, it messed things up for her. And then, of course, the duo didn't work either because of that. And you know, but of course, we're going to build policies into it while we're doing it. Like, you know, we're going to have things like, and I noticed with other live streams, you can hear the host say things like, okay, now I'm going to look at the chat. And then he say, for the next 5 minutes, I'm not looking at the chat. You know, and then we'll learn as we go. Right. The first one will be shitty, but
yeah, I also saw the other extreme. I follow an Arabic YouTuber who relies so heavily on the input that comes from the viewers, and his broadcast lasts, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours each time. And what actually happens is that he has a thought that he wants to talk about. As he's talking about it, he notices something in the chat, so it completely diverts the discussion. So he goes off on a tangent that is completely unrelated to what he was saying.
I don't think we should do that at all.
That's the dilution that I'm afraid of that might actually end up happening.
I don't want that to happen, and we're going to make it not happen by controlling it. But I also don't want to do it so much that it loses its value to the point that nobody even wants to talk in chat because they never get mentioned, that kind of thing. So we have to do it in a very controlled manner. I think we would do what Wissam does. Wissam does this thing where he does these little short periods within the live stream where he talks about the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that period is over, he goes to back his own thing and so on.
That's possible. Like if you look at a regular public lecture, for example, you would have the lecture after they finish talking, and you have this particular period of questions and answers.
Yeah,
that's possible.
Yeah. And actually, I remember doing our live stream, the June 14th. We told people you can ask questions now. We're going to answer them in the 30-minute Q&A session, but also, if anything was relevant enough right away, I would just say it right away.
Yeah.
So it's up to us.
You mentioned also the Discord. I mean, I know that the Discord is a thing on its own, but right now, since there is a Reddit and a YouTube, I know the idea that you have for the Discord is somewhat separate, but wouldn't that be basically a kind of again a dilution of what's happening?
I don't think so, because first of all, the Reddit, two things about it that makes it different than the Discord. For one, Discord, or people that use Discord differently than people that use Reddit, even if it's the same person. And it's because of the different designs of the platform. Reddit, I don't see anyone ever using it for chatting, even though it now has that feature. But Discord is all chatting. And Discord now started, I found out, they're trying to make it more like Reddit discussions, tree discussions. Mm-hmm. So now both have both features, but Reddit didn't successfully do chat, and Discord didn't successfully, or at least it's too new, so it hasn't done it yet. It does, you know, people are not going to Discord for long discussion format like they do for Reddit. Second, my Reddit group is for organizing our efforts for uniting the cults. It's not for friendship community. So that's one thing. I don't want to bog down Reddit and the Reddit group. You know, hey, who wants to be friend? I don't want that. But that's great for the Discord community. And let me add to it, the Discord community will not be about what the Reddit is for, which is developing our, you know, organizing our efforts to for uniting the cults. So I don't think there's any overlap, or if there is any, it's by accident. Somebody does it, and it'll be like,
Possibly.
hey, we're in Discord here. You seem to be trying to whatever. Go to Reddit so we can do so and so. And then while we're in Reddit, if somebody goes to my Reddit group and starts a post saying, hey, you want to be friends? I'm gonna be like, hey, that doesn't apply here, but we have something for that.
Yeah, we let me actually maybe then weave in our experience from Facebook. So on Facebook, you have the two features basically built into the platform. You have the groups / the pages, and the ability to chat and interact more in a more immediate way. What happened over the years, and that was before chat became a more prominent feature of Facebook, was that we had certain groups for certain things. So there were certain groups for that kind of more. I'm sorry?
You mean chat groups?
No. I'm talking about an actual Facebook group.
Facebook group.
Like, for example, the Shabaka, that's a group. But we had groups for more groups that are smaller in size, where it's possible for people to actually interact more personally, and they were more restricted in the sense.
I remember one of them. I think I was in one of them. Anyway.
Yeah. So in these cases, the people who get into these groups are going to be vetted, and they're supposed to follow certain criteria before they're actually admitted to something of that sort, compared to another group like the Shabaka, which admits both Muslims and non-Muslims. You have Muslims, Christians, non-Muslims of all types, and the whole interaction depends on the fact that you have this kind of inhomogeneity amongst the groups, in order to ensure that there is an actual discussion of content. Whereas in the other more closed groups that have more homogeneity, you see that the community starts to appear more naturally. The interaction that happens now between or amongst a group of people that have a lot more in common than the group that's outside now. And that is definitely the type of community that I think about when I think, okay, these people now have been dispossessed of their original community, and as humans they still seek a sense of community. And so that's where they definitely are able to explore this a little bit more, talk more freely, talk about the same topics that they might talk about outside, but from a perspective that is more common. Now, that also brings problems because the problems then that happen have a kind of a political nature to them, like you mentioned. So you start seeing people dividing naturally into factions.
Woke and anti-woke. Okay.
Yeah, because eventually, I'm talking about not necessarily that type of division, but other divisions that start to appear because of the similarity. So, for example, if you think about why it is that Jews and Muslims have this antagonism, it's because they're cousins, really. Because they have ideologies that are so similar that there's so much overlap that
one was trying to beat the other.
Yeah. And so you see the same thing between Shia and Sunni. Why is it that you have that? Because now you have the outside people not within this group, and so you start focusing on. So it's a natural dynamic within any group, within any community. I don't think it's avoidable, but it can be more regulated, more controlled, depending on how well
Were you trying to say it's a dynamic that happens more in a more homogenous group?
Probably so if you rule out.
So just an example, okay? If we talk about ex-Muslims versus Xers, and this is more homogenous, in the more homogenous group, there would be more. What were you saying again?
It might
more division in politics.
Yeah, so people are going to be dividing in a kind of a natural way, no matter what. If you put people in a kind of a group, and you're assuming that it's just going to be pure equilibrium, that's a stagnant and dead group. There has to be some kind of interaction. That kind of interaction very often includes that, I wouldn't say negative component, but it's a component that can sometimes drift into a negative direction.
Okay, so what was the point here?
I'm just laying down some observations from an actual experience that we've had before.
I'm trying to try to avoid whatever pitfalls you saw before.
Yeah, I'm just
related to creating like a Discord server.
Just describing the landscape, not trying to say this is good or bad. Just saying that if there's a community, and that's a really good thing. Having a community is very important for people who were part of a community and now are no longer part of that. That sense of belonging is definitely something that that needs to be fostered in individuals who are recovering from leaving whatever initial religion or community that they belonged in.
So I'm guessing you like the idea of, I mean, what I'm hearing so far is that you think it makes sense to have a Discord.
Yeah, definitely.
So then the question is, one of the questions, do you think it makes sense to start now? And let me tell you a little bit more about that. I right now think I have something ready where if I added 5 users, it would be functional. And I need that because I need to work out kinks. And I don't want to work out kinks when we have 2,000 users, obviously. I want to work out kinks when we have 5 users. So do you think it makes sense if we start now or next week or whatever the fuck we're talking about, so that I can get 5 users so I can work out the kinks, so that when we are ready and worked out the kinks, we can really launch, bring people into it where it starts contributing and helping to deconstructing Islam and agency.
Well, I would add exactly to the same point I was talking about before, but from a quantitative point of view. So you threw in the number 2,000, and then also the number 5
first.
Yeah, so 5 versus 2,000. I think the more ideal thing is to aim for what you would have as the maximum typical human group within a village. So, for example, that would be something in the range of 150, maybe.
Okay, let me tell you this. Apostate Aladdin has 40,000. He just recently crossed 40,000 YouTube subscribers. He only has 250 people in his Discord.
Yeah. Something like that. That's what I mean.
I've seen a Discord server that reached like 70,000. I'm going to tell you real quick. This was 3 years ago. It's Eric Weinstein's Discord server.
Okay.
And I got in after it already kind of got big. And then I left. And I can tell you what I didn't like about it. Things that I wouldn't do in my group. And then shortly after I left, it blew up. Died. Destroyed.
Okay.
Well, I think that's one of those scenarios where it got big too fast. They didn't know how to work out the kinks. It got big too fast, and then it blew up because of it.
Well, here's the thing about this. If you imagine something like that, let's say 10,000. I'm not going to go 40, 50,000, etc. What happens is 2 things. The first is the people who actually engage with each other, and this is something that we very routinely see in statistics of big groups on Facebook, is that the interaction is really restricted to at most a couple of thousand. So that's
like
the first
top 5% of people.
Yeah, that's the first
95% of people are not speaking.
Yeah, not speaking, not interacting, possibly just observing, and very, very infrequently you might have someone who just finds a comment so irritating, infuriating, whatever it is, that
they
just
reply.
gets them out of their silence to make some comment.
Yeah, and I want to add something to you, to what you said. If there was only 250 people, any one person in there is more likely to engage. If it's 10,000 people, the top 5% are a little bit smarter than whatever was in 250 people. And then to a regular person in the group of 10,000 where 5% are really smart, saying really smart things, they're intimidated and they don't want to speak.
Yeah.
Aside from that, there's just so much more traffic happening on the server. That for me, at least, by the way, I kind of hate Discord for that. Like, I don't want to look at a channel and see 5 discussions happening simultaneously, weaving with each other. I don't want to see that.
Yeah. But there's another aspect which, I mean, humans have discovered just from living in cities. If you have a huge number of people, that actually defeats the very purpose of creating a community, because you're alienated within a community in the city. And so instead of talking about an actual community of Xers that you have created here, you're creating a city that has small cantons of people who might be interacting with their little group within this.
Well, I think that would be happening anyway. So here's what I thought might happen. I could see somebody joining our Xers group and saying, can I get a channel for ex-Muslims so that ex-Muslims can talk about our problems? And then I might say, okay, fine. And then there's going to be 50 of those ex-Christian. And then it might be the ex-Christians are like, can I get on for ex-Catholics, not ex-Christians? Oh, now I want ex-Sunni from Syria and so on. Where do you decide? I think part of where you decide to draw lines is how much is already happening within any one category. So like if you have a channel that is currently for ex-Muslims within my Discord server, and then it got so big and there's so much discussion that now it maybe makes sense to have a Sunni one and a Shia one and so on. But you don't make that decision until it gets that busy.
Right. But so the idea of community is wonderful, whether it's the Discord platform or some other. It's not important. But the main thing that I wanted to mention here is the size of the community. If you're looking at Xers, you're really looking at the most basic common denominator amongst people who have left some kind of a group, and that could be a little bit problematic, because
that's actually too broad. I can already tell what we're looking for is not just Xers. It's Xers that want to heal themselves and change the world.
And so the healing that happens here is going to be very different depending. It's like you have 2 different patients that are recovering from some kind of a disease. If the disease is different with its aspects, you're not really looking at the same cure.
I agree with that. And more so than that, some people are coming in to a concept like this with the conception that they already want a spiritual guide, not a scientific guide. So then with my group clearly saying science-based tools, I think people that care about spirituality and hate science would already filter themselves out. Okay, so that already narrows it down. You know,
it does, but it basically you would be looking at people who have already somehow gone through some kind of a healing, and now
some people did 10 years of therapy. Some people did tons of journaling. Some people don't even know what those 2 words are,
and they are now ready to actually work on the process of changing whatever it is that caused their issue in the first place in the world outside of themselves.
Yes. So the point is, I think you were trying to say it's a big group. I think it's a very small group. Xers that want to heal themselves and change the world. It's not. I don't think there's a lot of people.
So let me tell you about an experience I had with an ex-Mormon. At the time, I had no idea about how leaving the Mormon Church is actually a really big issue. The same way, but to a less extent in terms of the threat to life, threat to livelihood when it comes to leaving.
Social pressure is as bad as the Muslim one, maybe.
Yeah, but there was a lot of commonality in the way that he was describing the experience of being shunned by the group, having the whole ideology being re-examined, and just finding rational problems with that original ideology. So I see a lot of commonality. But then when he starts talking about the theological aspects and what it is that specifically he was talking about, it's a completely different world.
And it's different between Muslim sects, and it's different between Muslims from certain families.
Yeah.
In my family, never once did I hear any shit about spirituality or emotional connection to Allah. I never heard that in my family from anyone. When I heard about that, I was escaping a bubble. And then I'm guessing there's the opposite. There's people who care a lot about spirituality, and maybe there's no rationality shit in their family. I don't know.
I would quibble a little bit about the whole issue of spirituality in Islam to begin with, compared to something like Christianity or Buddhism, for example. But
there's the whole sect, the Sufis.
That's a sect that is not even. So it came originally from the Persian religions, and it was implanted within Islam. And
and they get to call it Islam so they don't get murdered. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so it's not quite Islam.
Yeah, no, that's fine, but it still works though, because those people call themselves Muslims.
Yeah, definitely.
And then ex-Muslims, the same, so that's how they'll find us.
Yeah.
So
the bottom line, I really like the idea. I'm not sure in terms of when you're thinking about having this started out right now, what level of achievement it would have at this time.
The only achievement I want is for me to work out the kinks. And I can't do that by myself in the group. I need like 5 other people to start doing shit. And then for me to start noticing problems, and they notice them and tell me about them and let me fix them. Maybe that takes a couple months.
I don't know. Like I said, for the groups where we had people interact on that more community level, I think there was a really, really nice sense of belonging. I personally felt one of these groups to be really my second home for quite a while.
I'm going to do that a lot. I'm going to be talking to everyone, and I'm going to try to do it in a way that doesn't scare them from me, of course. But, by the way, there's a concept, in Discord, you have roles, right?
Don't assume that I use Discord much. I have used it a couple of times. I don't really know.
So there's roles, and the idea is you create a role for your server. I have a role called ambassador. And what that means is the person who has the ambassador role gets to talk to the new people coming into the server that are not verified yet. Okay. And so the point, if you're in the server, you got verified, and you're not an ambassador yet, you don't get to talk to new people, because I consider, you're not smart enough yet. But once you're an ambassador, that means I can tell you can talk to new people. You make a good first impression. You're kind, stuff like that. Why did I bring that up? Oh, because I guess this makes sense. The first 5 people need to be like kind of really good people, better. Like I want them to be ambassador level. Somebody that could say hello and give a good first impression instead of scaring people away. And it needs to be somebody other than me, because look, what people are going to have in their heads about me, because I made the server and I'm the founder, and maybe they saw some of my YouTube and they're seeing all this shit. It needs to be somebody else that says, hello, how are you doing? I'm not Rami, you know. So I'm not sure how I'm going to try to get the first 5 people. I don't know. I wonder if we should just wait until the first episode of Deconstructing Islam and then tell them about it at the end and say, first 5 people come in or something like that. We're like, I don't even know if it's the first 5. It'll be something more like, fill out this form to request to come in, and then I'm going to judge who I'm bringing in.
Yeah, probably there has to be some kind of a procedure to join. Otherwise,
it's already a procedure because you have to get verified.
Yeah.
There's that part.
Yeah.
You know,
so there are, here's the thing: for most of these places, especially for ex-Muslims, every group that I'm part of has some level of security where you have to be really verified, because eventually if you enter and it turns out that you're actually coming to dox people, coming there to create some kind of nefarious activity,
the whole thing will be destroyed the first time it happens.
Yeah, so being really
it needs to be a safe place.
Exactly.
So yeah, they have to be verified. There's a channel in my Discord server called Trolling Ring, like boxing ring. It's for practice. Okay. So you can practice defending yourself from trolls and anti-trolling. I call it anti-trolling. And in that channel, I clearly say trolling is not allowed anywhere on the server except this channel.
Okay.
And only if both parties give consent and keep giving consent. If anyone removes consent and the other person keeps going, you're banned immediately for a year. That's what I'm saying. That's how much I'm saying to people. This is a safe space.
Okay. No, that's really nice. Okay.
And rule 1 of the group, this comes from Leia, is legal action. It says we're protected by this group, and it's some law organization, and they protect ex-Jews, but we just picked it because I don't know of an ex-Xers one. Okay, and then I put my own brother's name in there, and this man, Fatty B. Rustin, attorney at law.
Well, it depends on where the people are coming from. Because
doesn't matter. I'm never gonna ask my brother to do anything because you can't. It's a different country. You can't do shit.
No. I understand. It's just that many people might actually just. I'm thinking about the typical mentality of people from the Arab world in particular. They would treat this in a kind of a nonchalant way. Oh, really? You're going to come get me with some kind of a law? Okay.
Well, that motherfucker, I bet you he's going to be banned in seconds because of the way he talks.
Yeah. So
if somebody says that sentence you just said, they're already going to be banned. I don't even want the fucking attitude.
Yeah.
No, somebody that's already trying to figure out ways. I'm gonna. What do they call it? You know, what's the phrase? Word lawyering. And this. You know the concept of you follow the spirit of a law instead of the letter of the law. Yeah. I don't want anyone trying to or even hinting at that they're gonna try to fucking get around my law.
No, I understand. Which I think is definitely a valid way to approach this. And if this approach is established, that definitely creates a sense of trust, a sense of this is really a place where we're going to be feeling safe. Okay,
so other small things. I would like you to join. I don't expect you to do anything or say anything ever. It's a for show thing, okay? I'm not trying to take your time away.
Yeah. So given that preamble, yes, I would love to join, but quite honestly, I don't think I will have the ability or the time or
to ever say anything. But what do you let me ask you this. If I saw something that I thought you would want to reply to, what if I emailed you a link?
Yeah.
Or even the text, and then you could decide, and then that way you're not reviewing, a channel. You're just
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just that
That way, I'm actually kind of being your secretary. Hey, I found something you might want to reply to, and then I save you a lot of time that way. That's
yeah, my own experience on Discord for you know Panghern philosophy. Well, they're active. They have a lot of things that are happening, and they wanted to create an Arabic Discord server. I'm not sure how I got involved with them at one point, and they offered that I run this. First of all, not that many people joined, and I really it's too time consuming, too draining, and there are so many other things going on.
It's a job.
Yeah.
I'm willing to make the job. I have a lot of free time, so I can do that. Leia can't do that. I know you can't do that. But I'm willing to do it. And then again, other people are going to take over the job from me.
Yeah, if this reaches enough size, definitely you will have people who would volunteer.
So I'm not too worried, that I'm making a job for myself, because very soon I'm going to outsource it.
Right. Probably the only thing right now is regarding the timing. So you have two different projects that are about to be launched. You have the Deconstructing Islam and Active Agents.
Agents of Change.
Agents of Change.
AOC.
Yeah.
Not the other fucking. I hate that it has that acronym.
Well,
AOC is a woman, right? The congresswoman.
Yeah. I mean, probably I would just avoid that kind of acronym anyway.
The AOC.
Yeah, I mean, it's needless to have that kind of ambiguity about.
Oh well, dude, yeah, like UTC.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense in marketing, but it makes sense in shorthand language between the top people.
Yeah. But yeah. What I'm saying is just you don't want to spread yourself too thin.
Oh yes, I am worried about that. In two ways. There's spreading myself too thin, and then I can't put in the effort that each project needs.
Yes.
So the project fails.
Yes.
And then there's too much on me, and it's fucking up my personal life, and my family life, and my kids.
Yeah.
I think it's fine the way it is now. I think it's fine. It's not a lot of time, all these things that I'm adding, and that only makes sense from your perspective if you knew what time investment I have in my current. Like, I barely spend any time. An hour a day at most for my work, so I got plenty of time. And I start, like, before I started this project, and let's say I wasn't currently having a big discussion online somewhere, a whole day will go by, and it's like, what am I wasting my time doing, like, video games, and like, I love the games, but now all of my time that I was doing stupid shit like that is all this now, all of it.
I actually envy you.
Oh yeah, and I'm having a blast, by the way. Having a blast. So any other thoughts about the Discord thing?
Nothing in particular. I mean, it's a very good idea. Like I said, I really can vouch for the idea in principle based on my own personal experience. Having that sense of community, having that safe space where you're able to create interaction with people. So it's really great.
I got an amazing idea just now. The way we present it to the audience is on Deconstructing Islam, and I actually show them the Discord channel.
Yeah. But if you're going to be showing an empty channel that doesn't have a lot of people,
there's nothing here but here. So look,
that puts the onus on the people who are going to be joining first to be basically the seeds for a community, and that's not a trivial thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this is what they would see. And, you know, we would just describe to them a little bit. I mean, we can ignore that. Tell them, you know, stuff already started happening, by the way. This is automatic. I posted this in the Uniting the Cults, and then this showed up, and I was surprised. I was like, oh, it's already working. And, you know, there's nothing here, just the first pinned post, which is me describing what this channel is. And it's just a few channels, and I think I'm done. Of course, it might change stuff, but I really put a lot of thought into this already. Even stuff like tickets, like we're going to have a trouble ticketing system. When somebody has a problem, you make a ticket. You don't just fucking chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
When somebody wants to give a suggestion to change the rules, not a chat, you have to open a ticket. And during the ticketing process, it's very clear, hey, the ticket is still open versus the ticket is closed versus which ambassador or director or mod is currently in control of that ticket. Fucking Discord is amazing. It has all this. A fucking ticketing system. I didn't know it had that, by the way. It's a new thing.
Yeah. And in Facebook in recent years, they did start including some of that, but not to this extent. But yeah, at the beginning, maybe 10 years ago, we were struggling to just do the moderation because there was no direct way to communicate with members other than having them chat with you.
Yeah. And then I have, look at this concept, journaling out loud. I've been telling people to do this for many years. Nobody does it. But I saw somebody do it on Reddit a few days ago, and it made me think, yeah, we need a channel for that. Mm-hmm. Everyone can come here and journal. And then there has to be rules about, so I say in here, for those of you replying to the people journaling, you will be held to a much higher standard of kindness. Mm-hmm. Because of the discussion topics. You're journaling about your emotions. So you're going to be held to a much higher standard of kindness. And I say in here, if you mess up even once, it means you're not skilled enough and you will be temporarily restricted for a year.
Yeah.
I want to be able to say these things to people on our live stream as an advertisement. Either its own episode or we spend the last 10 minutes of the first episode talking about it.
Yeah. It's I think the idea is great. At least in principle, it's great. I don't know the implementation, how it's going to look like, but the fact that this has already been set up and it's just waiting for people.
Set up, but without the kinks worked out. So I wouldn't even say it's fully set up yet.
Well, I would say probably if some thought has been put into it, I'm sure that whatever kinks you have there, they're not going to be something.
As long as it's not too big in the early period. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a deal breaker that would cause you to rethink the whole thing.
Yeah. But it could destroy it from the beginning. Like if you quickly get 2,000 people, you can destroy the whole thing pretty quick.
Yeah. So overloading this place, especially if you don't have people, staff members who are able to
that part of it too. Part of it too. It needs to grow partly by we have enough ambassadors or people helping me. So which means before I get those helpers, I have to limit and max out. You know, I don't know if you know this, but when you create an invite, you can limit how many people use it. So I can force out almost everybody.
Yeah, it's like when you have just in any kind of organization that caters to people, schools, hospitals, you have to have some kind of a reasonable ratio between the number of people who provide the care or the service compared to the people who get it. Otherwise, it really wouldn't make sense.
I just realized another obvious thing, which I've seen people do before. We're already recording. Imagine I make a nicely polished video from these bits and pieces or from scratch that says, here's what this Discord is about. And so if somebody wants to know what our Discord is about, they have a whole fucking video explaining it, including every channel, and why, you know what I mean? Like a lot of details.
Okay.
And then now, go ahead.
No. Having a visual tutorial and tour of that sort is actually usually very helpful. Just describing it without really going through the details might not be as enticing, but once you show the details on the screen and walk people through this, it's like you're trying to sell a house, for example, and you take people on a tour inside the house. You're actually showing all the amenities, all the different rooms, and so on. So yeah.
Although it's more like the online version of that.
Yes.
Yeah. One more thing. I just realized, based on what you said earlier, if this is naked, the first time they see it, that's bad. I think I figure out somehow how to get 5 people in there. And then there's shit in there now, discussions, right? And then we decide, okay, now it looks good enough to put it on our live stream and show it to people.
Yeah. I think just showing it without any people. If I were someone thinking about this and I see that there's no one there, I feel so much pressure. I find the place intimidating rather than welcoming.
Okay. Yeah. So the first 5 people need to be the other type. The people willing to do some new shit, you know, like you and me. Yeah. So I got to figure out now a plan of how to get those 5 people. I'm going to figure that out. Mm-hmm. And then I guess that's it. Woo! Oh, man, I love this shit. There's like 10 new ideas I got from this meeting about all this stuff.
Yeah, it's a really nice thing. Like I said, it's having a community is really I think it's probably one of the biggest things that people leaving some kind of a religion or cult are expecting to find. Some kind of an alternative place, especially at the very beginning.
So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, in the next few days, it might even be only one day, I'm gonna put a lot more thought into this, and then I probably will want to talk to you one more time about this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So we have another meeting. How many meetings we got before our live stream? We have one more meeting before the live stream.
Is it 1 or 2?
I think it's 1, the 25th, and then December 2nd is the following one, and that's when we start.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's correct.
So in our next meeting, I'll discuss with you whatever ideas I had since then, and I'm sure it'll be around Discord stuff. And that's it. Maybe we should have talked a little bit more. Maybe we jumped the gun a little bit too. Do you want to talk a little bit more again and just review our ideas on what our first session is going to be? The first,
probably not right now. But what I wanted to ask is whether you had any kind of more feedback or input from the people on Reddit about some of the items that we mentioned last time.
I don't think so.
Because
I've been trying to get information from people, but I haven't been successful getting any.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think we have the time right now to start really a discussion of this in depth. But what I'm proposing is that before next meeting, we both go through these points and then give each one a thought, and then when we meet together, we hammer out whatever details that we want to think about
and make an outline for it, which is what I sort of tried to do here, but it's very draft.
Right.
We need to finalize an outline is the point.
Yeah. Can you give me right now a link to this? I know I have it here somewhere, but I have so many open tabs in front of me.
I don't think you do have it because it says here restricted.
Oh, okay. Okay, wonderful. Yes, great.
And if you like, by the way, all of this stuff is findable from our spreadsheet, the UTC organization spreadsheet.
Right. Okay.
Or the new, I don't know if you realize there's a new spreadsheet just for the deconstructing Islam.
There was something that you showed last time or the time before. that would also be helpful to just throw it in here.
That is the Deconstructing Islam spreadsheet.
Oh, it's also not accessible to me.
Oh, let me change that. Okay, try it now, and I might have to give you a different link.
No, that's fine. It worked.
Okay.
Okay.
So this link takes you to that document, the other document.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, not that link. This link. So what the fuck is this link?
This seems to be a video.
This is a glitch. Because it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that there's anything. Where? I feel that this might have been actually something that we shared before, but maybe it was taken offline. Was that one of yours? Or is it something that we tried to think about?
I don't know what it is. If I'm going to take a guess, I would say I probably tried to link a video of one of our meetings where we discussed a little bit about the future of Islam.
Okay, I see.
Which I don't think is a big deal because we've thought 1,000 times more about it since then.
Yeah.
And I know we rehashed it again. So.
Okay.
So that's it then.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to you next week and bunch over the email.
Okay.
Bye. All right, man. Thank you. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.